Athenian marketplace. The sun blazes above, merchants shout their prices, citizens barter and gossip. But this man is not here to buy, nor to sell. He wears no fine robe, no golden rings. His clothes are tattered, his beard wild and unkempt. His home? Nothing but a wooden barrel. And right there, under the open sky, he does the unthinkable. He pleasures himself in public, calm, unashamed, as if the entire world was irrelevant to his existence. And when questioned, he simply replies, if only hunger could be satisfied so easily. This man was Diogenes of Sinope, not merely a philosopher, but a demolisher of illusions, a hunter of delusions, a man who dared to challenge not just kings, but the very fabric of what we call love, desire, and human connection. And today, through his brutal lens, we will confront a truth that most men spend their entire lives avoiding. See, every man, whether rich or poor, powerful or meek, carries within him a deep, knowing hunger, the desire to be desired, to be loved, to be chosen. It starts young. That innocent crush in school. The heart races when she smiles. The mind floods with fantasies of shared futures. And then, one day, the ground beneath collapses. She walks away. She chooses someone else, and you're left drowning in a silent scream. Why wasn't I enough? But what if I told you that this question itself is a lie? That the entire structure of your pain, your heartbreak, your longing, was never built on truth. Diogenes knew this. He watched men grovel before women, kings offering treasures, poets bleeding verses, generals kneeling in humiliation, all chasing the same illusion, that love is mutual, that loyalty is reciprocal, that devotion buys devotion. But history whispers a different story, a story of men consumed, destroyed, hollowed out by their own unrequited desire. And through Diogenes' savage clarity, we will tear open this wound, not to bleed, but to finally heal. Because what waits on the other side of this brutal awakening is a kind of freedom few men will ever taste. The freedom of needing nothing. By the end of this journey, you will either walk away broken, or you will walk away unshackled. This is the danger of unrequited desire. This is Diogenes and the female psyche. And now we begin. The first lesson: women do not love like men. There's a young man in Athens. His robes are clean, his hair is combed. His eyes shine with something we've all felt, the intoxication of being noticed, of being desired, or so he thinks. He hurries. To Diogenes, bursting with pride, his voice trembling with excitement, "Master, Lais smiles when I speak to her." Lais, the most beautiful courtesan in Athens. Men of power, generals, poets, and kings compete for a moment of her gaze, for the briefest touch of her hand. Fortunes are poured at her feet like rivers feeding an ocean. But this young man believes he is different, that her smile is special, that he has pierced her heart. Diogenes doesn't even look up from his simple meal of raw onions. "You poor fool," he says. That smile costs 300 drachmas. The young man storms off, wounded. But a week later, he returns his coin purse empty, his pride shattered. Lais had drained him dry, then moved on to the next man with a fatter purse. Diogenes laughs softly and delivers his verdict. The only difference between you and a beggar is that the beggar knows he's being robbed. This is the first lesson. Women do not love like men love. And few men have the stomach to face this truth. From the moment boys are old enough to feel attraction, society whispers a poisonous lie into their ears. If you give loyalty, you will receive loyalty. If you give love, you will receive love. If you sacrifice, she will see your worth. But history, brutal, raw, and unflinching, shouts the opposite. Consider Heinrich von Kleist, a brilliant poet, sensitive, passionate. He fell in love with a woman named Henriette Vogel. He poured his soul into letters, poems, and endless devotion. But Henriette was dying of cancer. Her final request? Kill me. And like a knight serving his queen, Heinrich obeyed. He shot her dead, then turned the gun on himself. Her last words? Thank you. No tears, no regret. Just polite gratitude for his service. This is not love. This is the cold machinery of hypergamy female nature, wired not for romance, but for survival. To seek the highest value mate. To extract resources emotional, financial, physical from those willing to offer them. And to move on without remorse when better options appear. Diogenes understood this instinct long before modern psychologists gave it names. Marriage is a trap for fools, he declared. Why chain yourself to a creature that will always seek a stronger link? He was not bitter. He was not angry. He simply saw the game for what it was. Most men never recover from their first heartbreak. They carry it like a wound beneath their ribs for decades. Maybe it was the girl in school who flirted with you and laughed behind your back. Maybe it was the fiancé who promised forever, but slipped away the moment someone richer, more powerful, or more exciting appeared. The stories differ. The wound is the same agony, the same hollow questioning. Why wasn't I enough? But the question itself is flawed, because it assumes that love is a moral contract, that affection is earned by virtue, by sacrifice, by loyalty. It is not. Love for women is often not a conscious choice. It is survival calculus embedded deep within evolutionary programming. While men are programmed to give provision, protect, pursue, women are programmed to select, to measure, to test, to upgrade. Hypergamy is not evil. It is simply nature. Just as lions hunt, rivers flow, fire burns. It exists because it works. And any man who refuses to see it walks blind into a slaughterhouse. Even the great Samson, strongest man in the Bible, was brought to ruin by Delilah's betrayal. His strength could tear armies apart, but not his own weakness for a woman's. Affection, or Orpheus, who dared descend into the underworld to retrieve Eurydice. His love so overwhelming that, even with her life on the line, he disobeyed one simple rule: do not look back. And with one glance, she was gone forever. These are not love stories. These are warnings, cautionary tales etched into history, not to teach hatred of women, but to teach men the truth of their own vulnerability, the truth of unrequited desire. Diogenes did not kneel before any woman's affection. He refused to bargain. He refused to beg. And because of that, he was freer than any king. The world today tries to mask these truths with comforting lies. Just be nice. Be vulnerable. Show your emotions, and she will stay. But as countless broken men can testify, the moment you pour your heart onto the floor is often the moment she begins to lose respect. Because while men believe that vulnerability creates intimacy, many women interpret it as weakness. And weakness is unattractive to hypergamy. Diogenes would watch these modern men with quiet amusement. You offer your soul like an open wound, he might say, and then weep when vultures arrive. This is the first lesson. You are not being singled out. You are not cursed. You are simply playing a game you never understood. But now you do. The brutal awakening, turning pain into power. Every man remembers his first heartbreak. Not just remembers, he carries it. Like a scar beneath the skin. Like a splinter lodged in the soul. It is not the kind of pain that screams. It is the quiet ache, the empty bed, the unanswered messages. The memory of her laugh, of the way she once looked at you like you mattered. And then, one day, she didn't. She simply left, for another man, for a better option, or for no reason at all. This Pain feels personal. Why me? What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? You replay every word, every moment, searching for clues, as if heartbreak is a puzzle that, if solved, would bring her back. But the brutal truth is, it was never about you. This is not random cruelty. This is design. This is nature. Just as lions do not mourn the gazelle, hypergamy does not mourn the man left behind. It simply moves forward, seeking higher ground, better genes, stronger security. In ancient Sparta, young boys were ripped from their mothers at the age of 7, thrown into the wilderness to survive alone. The weak, they died. The strong, they returned as warriors. Why? Because the Spartans understood a truth that modern men have forgotten. Suffering is the only teacher that matters. Your heartbreak is not a tragedy. It is your wilderness, your first real test. And if you pass it, if you survive, you emerge. Something far rarer than a happy man. You emerge unbreakable. Diogenes knew this better than anyone. He wasn't always the man in the barrel. Before philosophy, before Athens, Diogenes was captured by pirates and sold into slavery. Most men would have broken, begged, wept. But when placed before his buyer, Diogenes looked him in the eye and said, "You need a master. I'll take the job." The sheer audacity stunned the buyer. He purchased Diogenes not as a laborer, but as a tutor for his sons. This was his first law of emotional alchemy. Your pain is currency. Spend it wisely. Most men waste their pain. They drown in it. Replay old memories like a twisted film reel. The first date, the soft whisper of "I love you." The last argument, the cold silence after. They obsess over questions without answers. Was he better than me? Could I have done more? Will she ever come back? But pain, like fire, has two faces. It can burn you to ash, or forge you into steel. History remembers the men who chose steel. Gaius Marius, exiled by his own people, betrayed, left for dead. He clawed his way back from ruin, fueled not by hope, but by rage, returning to Rome not as a beggar, but as its master. Nietzsche rejected by the one woman he adored, Lou Salome. Instead of collapsing, he retreated into solitude, and from that abyss wrote "Thus Spoke Zarathustra," reshaping modern philosophy. They did not seek comfort. They sought transformation. Diogenes, too, rejected comfort. He chose the barrel. He chose hunger. He chose solitude, not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he understood that true power blooms only when one no longer fears deprivation. One day, a heartbroken young man came to Diogenes, begging for advice. "How do I forget her?" Diogenes handed him a rotten fish. "Carry this through the marketplace." The man obeyed. By the time he returned, the stench was unbearable. "Now throw it away," Diogenes commanded. "Do you miss it?" Diogenes asked. "Of course not," replied the man. Diogenes smiled. "Then why do you miss her?" This is the core of emotional alchemy. Pain is not your enemy. Attachment is. The more you clutch at what is gone, the more you suffer. Release it, and you release yourself. But understand this. Women have known these lessons for centuries. While men built empires, fought wars, and spilled blood, women mastered a quieter war. The war of influence. The war of the heart. Consider Catherine the Great. She seduced and deposed her own husband to seize the Russian throne. Not through brute force, but through calculated softness, strategic seduction, and cold detachment. Or Cleopatra. She ruled not only Egypt, but also the hearts of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Her power was not merely her beauty, but her mastery of emotional leverage. These women were not evil. They were players in a game men refused to understand. Modern men are being crushed by a game they don't even realize they're playing. They're told, "Open up. Be vulnerable. Share your feelings. And when they do, something shifts. The woman loses respect. Desire fades. The relationship crumbles. Why? Because vulnerability is only attractive when it comes from a position of power. When it comes from need, it signals weakness. One desperate man once confessed to Diogenes that his wife no longer desired him after he poured out his heart to her. Diogenes handed him a cup of water. "Spill it," he instructed. "Can you put it back?" "Then why did you spill it in the first place?" This is the brutal awakening. It is not about controlling women. It is about controlling yourself. Pain is the spark. Discipline is the fuel. Transformation is the fire. The Stoics called it apatheia, freedom from passion. The Buddhists called it detachment. Diogenes called it living like a dog. No attachments, no expectations, no fear of loss, no need for approval, no master above him. The unbreakable man is not the man who never feels pain. He is the man who burns it into strength. And now the question shifts. Will you drown in your heartbreak? Or will you awaken? Will you let her betrayal rot your soul? Or will you use it to build something untouchable inside you? The moment you choose determines everything. The female strategy. Emotional warfare. There is a truth few men ever dare to confront. While men build empires, women build influence. While men fight wars with swords, women fight wars with emotion. And in the quiet theater of relationships, it is often the woman who holds the sharper blade. Let us not pretend that this is accidental. It is nature. It is design. Men evolve to conquer territory. Women evolve to conquer hearts, not through force, not through violence, but through the invisible currents of emotional warfare. Look closely, and you will see this strategy repeated across history. Catherine the Great, a name that echoes power. She arrived in Russia as a mere foreign princess, powerless, insignificant. But within years, she seduced the court, deposed her own husband, and claimed the Russian throne for herself. Her weapon? Not armies, not assassins, seduction, charm, calculated vulnerability, cold strategy hidden beneath warm smiles. She offered affection as a tool, withdrawing it or bestowing it at will, tightening her grip on those who sought her. Approval. Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, ruler of two of the most powerful men in Roman history, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. To them, she was not simply a woman. She was an enigma, a goddess of mystery, pleasure, and danger. She understood precisely when to reveal softness, when to provoke jealousy, when to offer herself as fragile, and when to assert dominance. Her power was not simply her beauty, it was her mastery of emotional leverage. Women have always been the masters of this game. Because while a man's value is often external wealth, status, strength, a woman's power lies in the realm of perception. She reads subtle shifts in tone. She senses hesitation. She observes weakness, like a hawk watching prey. Diogenes understood this better than any man alive. One day, a famous courtesan approached him, full of pride. "I can make any man fall in love with me." Diogenes looked up, mildly amused. "Then make me." She smiled. She touched him. She whispered sweet promises into his ear. Diogenes remained unmoved. Finally, she stripped naked before him, a vision of physical perfection. And yet, Diogenes continued calmly eating his bowl of lentils. "Your body is your weapon," he said softly, "but I am not your target." This is the second law. You cannot be manipulated if you refuse to play, but most men, they play desperately. They chase validation like a thirsty man chasing a mirage. The more they pursue, the more the mirage fades into the distance. Modern society encourages this blindness. Be emotionally available. Express your feelings. Tell her how much you love her. Prove your devotion. But this advice ignores an ancient, primal truth. Desire is not drawn to need. Desire is repelled by it. A woman's attraction often thrives on challenge, on the mystery of a man who holds his frame, who offers attention, but not obsession, who gives affection, but not desperation. Why? Because neediness signals weakness, and weakness triggers one of the most deeply embedded instincts in the female psyche: disqualify. Imagine two men. One calmly enjoys his life purposeful, composed, self-fulfilled. The other pleads for her time, cancels his plans to chase her, showers her with gifts, seeks constant reassurance. Which one ignites her desire? Which one triggers her instincts of admiration, of longing, of genuine attraction? The answer is obvious. Women. Do not consciously calculate this. It operates beneath awareness driven by evolutionary wiring designed to ensure the survival of the strongest genetic lineage. Diogenes' strength was absolute non-neediness. When offered free pleasures by a beautiful courtesan, he declined. If you were giving away rotten figs, he said, would I take them simply because they're free? She was furious. Why insult me? Diogenes shrugged. Because I don't need you, and that is the essence of unbreakable power. A man who genuinely needs, nothing cannot be controlled. You cannot seduce him with promises. You cannot manipulate him with absence. You cannot trap him with jealousy. The true battlefield is invisible. Men fight wars with swords and guns. Women fight wars with silence, with affection withheld, with subtle tests, a delayed text response, a playful flirtation with another man to spark jealousy, withdrawal of intimacy to provoke chasing behavior. Each move is designed to measure his stability, to test whether his foundation is built on need or mastery. And most men fail these tests. They respond with call-on insecurity, desperation, endless explanations, begging for reassurance. And with each misstep, their value diminishes. Diogenes stood as the antidote to this trap. His existence was radical detachment. He did not need approval. He did not fear rejection. He did not chase validation. And because of that, even kings stood before him in awe. When Alexander the Great, the most powerful man in the world, offered him anything he desired, Diogenes had only one request: move, you're blocking my son. That is emotional warfare defeated, not through counterattack, but through complete immunity. You see, true strength is not dominance over others, it is dominance over self. When a man reaches this state, women feel it, society recognizes it, even his enemies respect it, because such a man is untouchable. Now, you begin to see, the game is not about women. The game is not about love. The game has always been about mastery of your own need, and the moment you master that, everything else shifts. The law of non-neediness, self-mastery, at the heart of every downfall, behind every broken man, behind every desperate plea for love, there lies one fatal flaw. Need is hunger. Need is vulnerability. Need is the open wound that predators smell before you even speak. Diogenes understood this law with frightening clarity. Where other men sought comfort, he sought immunity. Where others chased love, he chased mastery. Let's return to that young man, the one who came to Diogenes, desperate to forget the woman who left him. How do I stop missing her? He begged. Diogenes did not offer comforting words. He did not empathize. Instead, he handed the young man a rotting fish. Carry this through the marketplace. Humiliated but obedient, the young man did as told. Every step was agony. Every passing person wrinkled their nose in disgust. When he returned, Diogenes asked, "Now throw it away." He did. "Do you miss it?" "Of course not," the young man replied. Diogenes smiled. Then why do you miss her? This was not cruelty. This was medicine. The rotting fish represented what clinging to loss truly is, carrying something decayed, something spoiled, something already dead, and convincing yourself it still has value. Men obsess over women who have left them, who have disrespected them, who have chosen others, and in doing so, they chain themselves to corpses. They do not mourn love. They mourn the death of their own illusion. But here is the bitter truth. No one, not even she, can rescue you from this trap. Only you can choose to release the corpse you're still carrying. Diogenes went even deeper. One day, a man confessed, "My wife no longer desires me. She says she's fallen out of love after I shared my deepest feelings." Diogenes handed him a full cup of water. "Spill it," he instructed. The man obeyed. "Can you put it back?" The man shook his head. "Then why did you spill it in the first place?" What did he mean? When a man pours all his emotions onto a woman, when he exposes his complete dependency, when he shows that his very sense of worth is tied to her approval, he cannot take it back. The dynamic shifts permanently. Her respect diminishes. Her desire evaporates. Because need repels desire. You must understand, love offered from fullness is strength. Love offered from emptiness is weakness. Modern men are trained backwards. They're told, open up, be vulnerable, pour out your heart. But they are rarely taught the discipline to first become full, to first become whole without needing anyone. Stoicism called it apatheia, freedom from passion. Buddhism called it detachment. Diogenes called it living like a dog. A dog does not worry about tomorrow. A dog does not mourn lost affection. A dog lives in the present, satisfied with the basics: cologne, food, shelter, sunlight, and this is why, when Alexander the Great offered him anything, Diogenes needed nothing more than space to feel the sun. Move, you're blocking my sun. This is self-mastery. It is not hatred of women. It is not celibacy. It is not bitterness. It is the ability to enjoy love when it is offered, but never require it for survival. The man of non-neediness offers love freely, but can walk away without pain when respect is gone. He is kind, but not desperate. He is open, but never exposed. He desires, but never clings. The paradox is this: when you no longer need women, they are drawn to you more powerfully than ever before. Because you project what is most rare, internal abundance. A woman senses this difference instinctively. She feels your calm, your independence, your quiet strength, and most importantly, your boundaries are not ultimatums. They are silent laws you live by. You will not chase someone who disrespects you. You will not beg for attention. You will not trade your dignity for affection. You will never fear walking away. This is the secret that most men never grasp. They believe love requires sacrifice. They believe proving devotion will secure loyalty. They believe persistence will earn affection. But they miss the core truth. Attraction is not negotiated. You cannot bargain someone into desiring you. Desire is felt, not reasoned. And nothing kills desire faster than obvious need. Diogenes lived this truth fully. He owned nothing. He begged for nothing. And yet even kings envied his freedom. Because while they ruled nations, he ruled himself. In modern terms, we might call this frame control. But Diogenes lived it before the term existed. He set the frame. He never entered another's frame. He dictated the terms of every interaction through non-need. And this brings us to the unspoken reality of modern dating. Most men are slaves. Slaves to validation. Slaves to sexual scarcity. Slaves to their own emotional hunger. They contort themselves to fit what they believe women want, never realizing that by doing so, they kill the very attraction they crave. A man who masters non-neediness operates differently. He doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't fear rejection, he filters. He doesn't audition for love, he allows love to audition for him. But here lies the hardest part. You cannot fake non-neediness. You either live it or you don't. Women are hypersensitive to authenticity. They feel the difference between confidence and bravado, between peace and pretense. So how do you build it? Through the exact opposite of what weak men do. You develop purpose outside of women. You cultivate mastery over your mind, body, and craft. You embrace solitude as strength, not punishment. You practice detachment, not bitterness. Freedom is not the absence of desire. It is the absence of need. And when a man reaches this state, he no longer fears heartbreak. He no longer fears betrayal. He no longer fears loss, because he carries wholeness within himself. That is self-mastery, the law that Diogenes lived, the law that few men will ever learn, the law that, if understood, will make you unstoppable. The final transformation. Freedom is the death of need. There comes a moment, not gradual, not gentle. A moment where something snaps inside a man, where everything he once believed about love, about desire, about himself shatters like glass. In that violent silence, a terrifying clarity pours in. It was never about her. It was always about me. Every tear you shed, every sleepless night, every desperate hope that she might return was not love. It was addiction, an addiction to approval, an addiction to being chosen, an addiction to believing that your worth was tied to someone else's affection. Diogenes saw this sickness infecting men everywhere. Kings who groveled, poets who bled, warriors who fell, and he spat on it. One day, a young man came to him broken, weeping. She left me for another. I can't live without her. Diogenes said nothing. Instead, he picked up a dead rat by the tail and held it before the man's face. The stench was foul, the sight grotesque. The man recoiled in horror. Diogenes whispered, "You shudder at this rotting carcass, and yet you let a woman rot your soul." This is the first law of ruthless self-mastery. Nothing, not love, not sex, not companionship, is worth your dignity. Most men will never accept this. They will live their entire lives trapped in cycles of need, chasing validation, rearranging their lives for fleeting affection, not trading their identity for moments of approval. But this one is different. If I prove myself enough, she stay. If I give more, she'll see my worth. They tell themselves these lies, and every time they are wrong. The truth? You do not lose women because you lacked love. You lose them because you lacked strength. The strength to remain whole with or without them. Diogenes didn't hate women. He simply didn't need them. And because of that, when the most beautiful courtesan in Corinth offered herself to him for free, he declined. If you were giving away rotten figs, he said, would I take them just because they're free? She was enraged. Why insult me? He shrugged. Because I don't need you. That is the death of need. The moment you no longer require love, love becomes available to you in ways it never was before. Understand, women are not repelled by strength. They are repelled by emptiness disguised as strength. They are drawn to men who radiate fullness, not hunger. Power dynamics shift entirely when need dies. You no longer fear leaving. You no longer negotiate your worth. You no longer chase. And in that calm detachment, paradoxically, you become irresistible. Because you exude what is most rare, sovereignty. This is not manipulation. This is not game. This is not a trick to get women to chase you. It is truth. The law of natural polarity. The law that governs all human attraction. When a man needs nothing, he holds everything. The tragedy is that most men hear these words and believe they understand, but they don't. They slip back into old habits. The moment she smiles, just right. The moment attention is dangled before them. The moment old wounds whisper, maybe this time it's real. And just like that, they are trapped again, begging for crumbs, trading dignity for desire. But you have a choice. You can live like the countless broken men, or you can step into rare air. Diogenes didn't own property, didn't chase wealth, didn't serve kings, didn't beg for love. He lived in a barrel. He masturbated in public. He spoke freely before emperors. He died free, and when asked how he wished to be buried, he simply said, "Throw me to the wolves. I have no use for a tomb." Even in death, he refused chains. This is the final transformation: to burn neediness to the ground, to kill the addiction at its root, to live as a man who cannot be broken. And in that fire, you don't lose love. You reclaim yourself. Now, we stand here, at the edge of a cliff that few men ever reach. Behind you lies everything you've been taught. The fairy tales, the lies of romantic sacrifice, the desperate need to be chosen, the constant bargaining for affection. Before you lies something else, something terrifying in its simplicity: freedom. Most men cannot step forward. They look back. They cling to their illusions like a drowning man clings to a sinking ship. They whisper to themselves, "But I need love. But I need her. But I can't live without it." And so they remain trapped, forever bending, forever chasing, forever bleeding. But a few men, a rare few, choose the other path. They burn neediness to the ground. They stare into the abyss and do not flinch. They understand love is beautiful, but it is not air. It is not survival. It is not the source of your worth. Diogenes lived this truth every moment of his life. He needed no throne. He needed no lover. He needed no approval. He needed no riches. He lived freely, brutally, untouchably, and even emperors envied him. The greatest lie ever sold to men is that they are incomplete without a woman. History is littered with the broken bodies of men who believed it. Samson, blinded for love. Orpheus, destroyed by longing. Hercules, burned alive for betrayal. These are not love stories. They are gravestones, warnings, not to hate women, but to master yourself. You cannot control how others feel. You can only control one thing: the death of your need. And in that death, something remarkable is born. Peace. Power. Presence. Magnetism. Women feel it. The world feels it. Because you no longer chase, you walk, you lead. You exist whole. Now I ask you, who will you be? The man who stays broken? Or the one who rises? The one who begs? Or the one who walks away with dignity intact? The one who repeats the cycle? Or the one who breaks it forever? If you choose freedom, say it now. Type barrel in the comments below. Not for me, not for her, for you, barrel. A simple word, a declaration, a line in the sand. The moment you write it is the moment you step into rare air. The moment you refuse to kneel again. The moment you choose self-mastery over self-destruction. Because your life, your real life, starts now.